Alrighty. Alrighty. Whew. Good afternoon, or good evening, if you're European. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome back to the Brain Domain. Welcome back. Let me just say, I'm looking forward to when I don't need to feed the squirrel overnight anymore. I'm looking forward to when we won't have to do overnight feedings. Check this out. Gunnar Vin sent me pictures straight out of a workbook for how to take care of a baby squirrel. It's got all this great info. Isn't that awesome? So we weighed him today. He weighed 60 grams. So that means that he's right around the 3 to 4 week mark. He took a big poop this morning. He took a big poop this morning. Biggest poop yet. I'm going to talk about squirrel feeding for a minute because repeating it back to you helps me remember it. You want to feed a squirrel about 5% of its body weight. Its stomach can hold about 5%. So we did some math and it came out to 60 grams equals about 3 cc's. Or 3 milliliters. I also learned that a cc is the same thing as a milliliter. Europeans are probably laughing at me right now, but, you know, we weren't raised in the metric system. So as it turns out, that's what we were feeding him already. So we were right on the dot. You want to feed him no more than 5%, and he was just gobbling it down. It's so funny. It says in here. Hold on, let me see if I can. After each feeding, squirrels less than 6 weeks of age should fall asleep almost immediately. If a young baby squirrel is still moving around instead of going back to sleep, it might still be hungry. So yeah, that's basically what he's been doing. It's like we feed him and then he'll just go. He's just out. It's very cute. So we gave him a little, it wasn't a full bath because I didn't want to get him all wet because it's really important that he stays warm and I didn't want him to get soaked. So we just gave him a little wipe down with a warm washcloth and got some because he had a little bit of milk on him. You know, he's a messy eater. We got him all cleaned up. Weighed him. We fed him. We fed him at around 9:30, and then we fed him again at around 12:30, because we feed him about every 3 hours or so. I was also reading in this book you can supplement their food with some heavy cream. So I might have to go out to the store and get some heavy cream. It's gonna be so cool when he opens his eyes. He's getting there. They're supposed to open their eyes around 4 weeks, and he's... You know, he's 60 grams, so he's got a little bit of a ways to go. He's getting there, though. He's getting there. Trying my hardest to take good care of the boy. I was being kind of mean yesterday, not in here though. Did they deserve it? I understand the importance of being kind and patient and compassionate and empathetic, but sometimes you're dealing with an asshole. It's okay to keep your claws sharp, just don't have them out all the time. Know when to put them away. Only take them out when you need them. Can people on antidepressants drive and hit the gym? I don't see why not. The side effects for antidepressants shouldn't interfere with your ability to do either of those things. Some of the more heavy-duty psych meds might make you very sleepy, and so you might not want to operate heavy machinery when under the influence of those types of stuff. But antidepressants, you're all good. I missed your answer due to lag. Could you repeat? Yeah, sure. Yeah, antidepressants don't really interfere with your ability to drive or work out or exercise. For a lot of people, it enables them to be able to do that kind of stuff. You know, maybe depression kept them pretty sedentary, but maybe the antidepressant can kind of help to give them a little bit of a boost. And then they can go out and actually do stuff again. Just think about it this way. Anytime you're out driving, a certain percentage of the people out there driving with you on that same road are probably going to be on antidepressants. If you go to the gym, there's probably going to be some people at the gym that are on antidepressants. Explain this, science guy. Is that me? Am I science guy? Oh, I'll take it. Explain this. What are we looking at here? Oh. Easy. This cat identifies as a dog. This is a cat that identifies as a dog. That's what we're looking at here. Let's run it back one more time. Have you ever seen... Hold on, let me see if I can find this video. There are a few instances of this where there are cats that think that they are dogs. Maybe the cat spends a lot of time around dogs. Maybe the cat, you know, lives with a bunch of dogs. The thing about cats is that they'll adjust. They'll fit in. Just look at this little guy. Ah! Yeah, if you have a cat and, you know, it's young and it's in a house full of dogs, it might start to act like a dog. Or you might get a dog that thinks it's a cat. Can you imagine walking into your kitchen and your dog is sitting on top of your fridge? Oh yeah, Penny in the cat tower. Sometimes I think Penny thinks she might be a cat. It's just a picture slideshow. I want a... Okay, this is the one I was thinking of. This cat was raised by a dog. Ah! Animal videos are one of the reasons I'm glad the internet exists. So we've got cats that think they're dogs, we've got dogs that think they're cats. Can science explain it? I don't know. I've been a little sluggish. I feel like I'm, you know, raising a newborn. You gotta get up and feed him every 3 hours. I gotta say, waking up at 3 a.m. Waking up 2 times in the middle of the night to go feed the little baby. I don't mind doing it. I'm just very tired. I haven't had a full, unbroken night's sleep in 2 days, 3 days now. The dog is picking up some cat behaviors. Like, dogs and cats are social creatures, you know, they like to form little groups. You know, they like to hang out together. They learn from each other. Seasonal change is keeping me from sleeping. You wanna come help out with some of the overnight shifts? You wanna come help with the overnight feedings? So this is probably something similar to what it's like when you have a human baby. If anything, this kind of makes me not want to have a human baby. If I'm being honest. Squirrel though, squirrel's fine. I can do squirrel. Alright, so we're gonna do some... We got the question box open today. I'm not sure what else we have on the agenda. I'll be completely honest, I just haven't had much time for stream planning. You know, so we're kind of winging it here. So my apologies on that. Normally I like to have something planned for us. I just haven't had the time. I had a baby squirrel to take care of. I've been raising an infant. His eyes aren't even open yet. He's just eat, sleep, poop, repeat. And honestly, that's the dream. That sounds... That's the dream. Eat, sleep, poop, repeat. Like, anything else, you're just overcomplicating life. We haven't landed on a name yet. We haven't come up with a name yet. We've had some ideas. We've been batting around some ideas for a name. We haven't settled on anything yet. Templeton Mayhem Esquire. He's a lawyer. He's an attorney. All right, I'm gonna crack open the question box. Let's get to it. Let's get down to business. I've been thinking about calling him Newton because he discovered gravity by falling out of a tree. Alrighty, let's get down to it. Hold on, I need to wake myself up a little bit. Hold on, I need to do one of these. Ready? Check this out. I'm gonna... I needed that. I needed that. All right. We got some question. We got a question. If you have a question, go ahead and drop it in. We'll get to it right away. This is the only one in there at the moment. I get overwhelmed when my mom starts cleaning while I'm busy doing an online course because later she often tells me I don't help enough around the house. This morning I woke up and started sweeping a little before starting my work. I had planned to take a break later to finish sweeping and then mop the house. While I was working, I heard her start vacuuming in the living room, so I went out to explain my plan. Instead of understanding, she gave me attitude and told me to just go back to work, implying that I wasn't going to clean. The way she said it felt dismissive, as if I wasn't going to actually do it. Now I'm back in my room and I feel like crying because this keeps happening. I do help around the house when I have time, but it feels like when I'm in my room doing work, they assume I'm being lazy. On top of that, I went out yesterday for a couple of hours and it feels like she's upset about that too since she hates me going out. She guilt trips me into thinking I do not care about my family. How can I not let this affect me? I feel like no matter what I do, they don't see my effort and it's overwhelming. I think what will be important to talk about with your mom, and this is something, you know, it doesn't have to be any big confrontation. It's not like, hey, let's sit down and talk about this. This is something you can kind of do gradually. But just talking about how it is affecting you, because it is. And so maybe it's not a situation where I need to harden up and not let it affect me. Maybe I need to talk to this person about how they're treating me and how they're making me feel so that it doesn't happen. Let's take a look at this from mom's perspective for a second. All right. Imagine that you are the person in a household who does a majority of the cleaning. It's something that you feel like this is something that I have to do most of. I know how to do it correctly. When you are the person who regularly cleans a house, you get an idea of the workflow, what needs to be done, and when and how it should be done. And when somebody else just comes in and starts doing something, well, it's like, well, it goes against the schedule, it goes against the plan that they might have internally about how the cleaning process goes. And so they have an idea of, okay, I'm going to do this, and then this, and then this, in that order. But then somebody else comes in and they're like, oh, I'm helping. And they start wiping something down or sweeping something. And it's like, no, you're just getting in the way. You're just, you know. And so the communication is what needs to be addressed. Because if she needs help from you, there's a better way to ask for it outside of just guilting you. And if you're being made to feel that way, then it's something that we should be able to talk to them about. What I would suggest in the short term, you know, and this is something relatively minor that we can do to hopefully make things just a little bit easier. Ask her this question: what would you like me to do to help? You know, if she tells you that you don't help often enough, what would you like me to do? I've got some time later. You know, let her know, like, I've got this thing I gotta do. I can do it later today, though, or maybe I can have it done by tomorrow. Just ask for an assignment. So, again, I'm not saying what she did was right, because there's definitely a better way to ask for help around the house, you know? But if she is making you feel that way, then just ask her, what would you like me to do? What can I do to help? That way she maintains a sense of control and she can feel like I'm delegating tasks, and then she also gets the help that she's looking for. Does that make sense? Do you see where I'm coming from? It's like she wants help in cleaning, but she's not really phrasing it that well, and she's not really being direct enough. What I've learned is if you want somebody to help you clean something, ask them specifically to clean a certain thing. Hey, can you help me? Can you empty out the dishwasher for me? Can you wipe down the counter? Could you, Windex that window? You have to be very specific. If you're just going to be like, why doesn't anybody help me? Why do I have to do this all on my own? Why don't you do enough around the house? It's like, I don't know. What do you need me to do? Ask what you would be best to do. She's probably feeling overwhelmed in her own regards anyway, and she's taking out some of that frustration onto you, and that's not fair, but we can understand why it happens. Just getting frustrated and guilt-tripping people and, making them feel bad for not helping isn't the way to get the help that you're looking for. If your house is on fire, you don't just huff and puff about it like, I wish somebody would help me put this fire out. I just wish this wasn't all on me. Nobody's doing enough to help me put this fire out. It's like, if you want the fire to put out, you have to call and ask. You have to call and let somebody know. You have to be specific. You can also ask this question. Anything I could do to help? And then if she says later that you don't help enough, just be like, well, I asked you earlier if there's anything I could do to help, and you said no. Also, do you make a lot of mess in the house? I'm sick of the double standards in my family. My parents complain to me in private about the issues of my other siblings, and then everyone shits on me when it's a full group. Sounds toxic. I think sitting down with your mom and talking about like a cleaning schedule, like, hey mom, I want to help you clean more. What's your cleaning schedule look like? I've got some free time, I've got my online coursework I have to do, and that keeps me busy at this time, but outside of that, I've got some time to help, so just let me know. Like, let's talk about it. It's like your mom is coming at you from a place of frustration, and it's not even necessarily anything that you're doing wrong because you want to help. She's just not really asking for help in the right way, and it's making you feel bad. So instead of matching her frustration with more frustration, let's try to be solution focused. You know, if she comes out and says, hey, you're not helping enough, be like, what would you like me to do? What can I do to help? Because it's not you versus your mom, it's you and your mom versus this issue. You know what I mean? Anyway, keep us posted. If there's anything we can do to help, let us know. But I think that's a good place to start. Greetings and salutations. How's it going? Oh yeah, 15 asked how the squirrel was. Squirrel's doing good. Fed him right before stream. So we're gonna wait another 3 hours or so. I wish I could disown my family, but I don't know if that's the right thing to do. I mean, that's a extreme solution, and sometimes it's necessary, but before we take that step, sometimes it's better to just maybe put some more distance. You know, have a firmer boundary. You know, there are degrees of separation. You know, we don't have to immediately go to disowning and cutting people off. We could try and just putting some space in between us. I guess I just want to let them have it and watch them be shocked by my actions. Do you think that would make you happy? I guess what I should have phrased that is, and how do you think that would make you feel? Probably not. Then what can we do to make some more happiness for you? heavy question. I'm gonna show this one because it's not as explicit, but still. You know, I've taken a step back from showing these types of questions on stream, especially if we're feeling, you know, I don't want to trigger anybody in the audience. I don't know anymore. Well, let's figure it out. Start small. You know, if you're trying to be happier, start small. What would be my situation? What would things be like for me if I was 5% happier? Is that a good place to start? 5%? You know, we don't want to immediately try to go for how can I be the absolute happiest that I can be? That's too much, too quickly. It's not going to stick. It's going to feel unattainable. It's going to feel impossible. And I'm talking to you, but I'm also talking to this person. We got to start on that next step. We're trying to figure out what the finish line looks like, but we're getting too far ahead. We only need to focus on that next step. And that's what this questioner is asking. What the hell is my next step? My whole life has involved too much shit that I don't want to deal with anymore. Is this stuff that we all have to deal with? Do you have to deal with it? Is there any amount of it? And I'm not saying all of it, but is there any amount of it that you're okay with letting go of? I don't know how to change. See, here's the thing about change. Change is inevitable. Change is always happening. You right now are a different person than you were a year ago, or even 6 months ago. And in another 6 months or another year, you're going to be a different person. So change is always happening. And so it doesn't mean you have to know how to change. The only thing that you have to know is what direction do I want to change in? So what direction do you want to change in? What are you fighting for? What are you striving for? I don't get how people are able to persevere in more difficult situations when I can't handle anything. We don't need to compare ourselves to others when it comes to the pain that we've dealt with. Pain is subjective. Casey, we're feeding him in an hour. We're feeding him at 3. We've got it. We're keeping a schedule here. I lived independently from my parents for years, and when I come to visit, they still just talk about how I'm lazy. No sense to it, really. The word we're looking for here is projection. They are projecting onto you. They're concerned about their own laziness. We most often criticize others for that which we are unable to criticize about ourselves. What the hell is my next step? Great question. Maybe go for a walk. Maybe get some sunlight. Maybe go to the park. Maybe go to the library. Maybe go to the animal shelter and play with the kittens. You know, pet the dogs. Just a small little act of kindness and compassion for yourself. Just doing something that feels calm and peaceful and something that you can enjoy. Sometimes that's what you need when you're feeling really down and out. Just an act of compassion, an act of kindness. So, if there was a version of you in the near future, maybe this is a month away, maybe this is, a couple months away, this version of you is 5% happier than you are today. What is different about that version of you? What are they doing that you aren't doing? What do they think about themselves? What sort of stuff are they up to? If you want to become that person, you have to get to know that person. You got to learn how to think like they think. It might not come to you right away, but it will if you continue to try. So I would encourage you to not give up on yourself and continue to try. Visualize that next step. They just always wanted more of something they can't name, and they pin that onto you for some reason. Maybe that's something that they want is a better relationship with their child, but they're not sure how to do it, and the only thing that they know how to do is be critical of their child. It kind of gives you some insight into how their parents treated them. Kind of makes you feel bad for them. They don't even know how to be close to a kid. The only thing they know is how to tell a child they're not good enough. My parents always call me a smartass when I make sarcastic jokes, to which I reply, because I'm the type of person who's been called a smartass consistently in life. Well, I'd rather be a smartass than a dumbass. Or I say something like, well, I learned from the best. And then I look right at them. give them a big grin. Something that I've found to be really important in being a good conversationalist and being a good, conflict resolver. It's not about winning. It's not about defeating your opponent. It's about disarming them. They've got a weapon and they're swinging it at you. You need to just gently take it from them and set it aside and say, there's no need for that. You might be surprised just how far it'll get you when you start talking to your parents like an adult. Because you've known your parents since you were a baby, and there's an expectation of what this relationship is, and you still view them as older and smarter, and, they get to tell me what to do. But when you're an adult, you can have a conversation like adults. And if they're treating you in a way that is just unproductive, unfair, or you feel like it's pushing you away, you can let them know. Just in a calm, direct way. It's really funny too when I take a different route to humor that's more genuinely flamboyant, but then my dad tells me to not act like that. What I would do is be even gayer. You know, if like, oh, that's what you have to say, Dad. All right, well, now I'm gonna double down. I'm gonna I'm gonna be even more flamboyant. Do you think drunk talk is honest talk? Not necessarily. The thing about alcohol in the brain is that it kind of removes some of your inhibition, and so you might speak more freely, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're speaking logically or rationally. You might be more impulse driven or more emotionally charged, and so it might not genuinely be truthful. I gotta get this cat. He's... Beaver was trying to mess with the baby, and Penny was barking at him, so good looking out, Penny. Good looking out, Penny. She alerted him. Beaver was trying to climb into the box, and Penny was barking at him. Don't worry, everybody's fine. I just had to kick Beaver out of the room, though. Now he's meowing at the door. I guess, to pick up where we left off, I've heard people be, you know, less inhibited when they're drunk, but I've also heard them say stuff that just is downright foolish. You know what I mean? So, I think the idea that drunk talk is honest talk, it's a bit of a misconception, and it might lead people to assume that certain things are true when they might just not be true. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't take that as some sort of hard rule. I would say, you know, if a person's drunk, they're going to be less inhibited. They might tell you stuff that they might not normally say to you, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're approaching it from a rational, logic place. It might just be very emotional. And as we know, sometimes our emotions, you know, we get carried away with them, and they might not be reflective of our actual beliefs. When my dad is more drunk, he talks to me more aggressively and always tries to put it out to how much I'm a shithead and a disappointment to him. And you know that these words are just words, right? Like, he's not being truthful. Like, odds are he's disappointed in himself, and he's the one that's really acting like a shithead. But Honestly, one of the most stone cold things that I've learned to do when people talk to you that way is to just say, go on. Tell me how you really feel. Instead of responding emotionally, which is what they're looking for, they're trying to get an emotional rise out of you, just approach it like you're a scientist observing a phenomenon of nature. Like, very interesting, tell me more. Go on. Tell me how you really feel. And then let them know, all right, well, I'll remember this when you're in the nursing home. People who go out of their way to make you feel bad about yourself, when by all means, you're not a bad person. I want to remind you that. You're not a fuck up, you're not a bad person. Just because your parents tell you that, your parents are fucked up. Why would we take their opinion as truth? You define your own self-worth. And that's what we really need to focus on. What do I think about me? It's more important than what other people have taught me to think about myself. Robin here. Hi, Robin. A little update on my nihilism. I think I'm honestly just depressed right now. I think we called it. Like, no amount of logic is fixing the way I'm thinking about anything, you know? Exactly. You can't logic your way out of depression, it doesn't work. This is also one of the reasons why you will sometimes see higher rates of depression in smarter people. The smarter you are, the more you know, and the more you know, the more you are aware of how fucked up things are. And so a lot of the smartest people are also some of the saddest people. It's not really anything you can logic your way out of, but there is a way out of it. There is a way out, though. Take it from me. I found a way out, and I didn't think I ever would. I thought I was too smart. I beat myself up so much for not being able to think myself out of it. A burden is lifted. You gotta remember this. Depression creates delusion. It changes the way that you perceive reality, and the way that you feel about yourself might be untrue. What is the way out, please? I'll tell you. What I found that works for me, turning my depression into a tool. If depression tells me one thing, and I can't think my way out of it, instead what I do is, I do the opposite of what depression tells me to do. If depression tells me, stay in bed, don't bother cleaning your room, don't bother doing the dishes, don't bother reaching out to anybody, nobody wants to hear from you, everybody hates you, okay, I'm gonna do the opposite of all those things. So now depression is a tool. It's actually telling me what to do by telling me what not to do. Like, you can't just forget your depression. You can't just think your way out of it. You can't logic your way out of it. You got to realize that depression is inherently illogical, and it's affecting my perception of reality. Depression makes things seem much more dreary, much more... You literally see the world less colorfully when you are depressed. When you start to feel less depressed, it'll feel like you go outside and it'll feel like somebody turned up the saturation. Depression literally affects the way that you see the world. It makes it literally look more gray. So learn to listen to what depression is telling you, instead of trying to avoid it or not listen to it, because that's normally what we want. That's normally what we would think would work, right? If I just don't listen to my depression, if I just, try to forget it's there, then eventually it'll just go away. That's not really going to work. Because if it did work, then it would have worked for us already, right? Like, that's what we've been trying, but it didn't do anything. So what we want to do is we actually want to listen to it. What is depression telling me? Figure that out. And then do the opposite of that thing. So true, I hate depression. Here's the thing. I feel like depression has good intentions in the same way that anxiety often has good intentions, but when it's unregulated and unmanaged, it becomes a problem. So I'm trying to change my routine and diet a little to hopefully balance out my brain chemicals, because something is off. Is it bad if I take a break from ADHD meds for a couple days on my weekends to kind of like reset my brain chemicals a little? Is that a thing? My doctor in the past has said it's fine, but I don't know. It might be effective in helping a situation like this. If your doctor said it's fine, then I would listen to them. Again, I am not going to offer anybody medical advice. I'm not going to tell you anything about what to do with your medication. That's a conversation you should have with your doctor. But that being said, let me just share you my understanding of this type of medication. ADHD medications work rapidly. They work the day that you take them. And then you have to take them again the next day. They don't like accumulate in your system. They don't have like certain other drugs you'll take, they build up in your system, and then you could actually go a few days or even a week without taking them and be okay because it's still in your system. But ADHD meds, stimulants, they go through you pretty quickly. So, to my understanding, they are one of the medications that you can take more as a as needed instead of every single day. Just, give your brain a break. If your doctor said it's fine, then it's probably fine. Like, you see what I can't just I don't want to offer people any sort. I don't want to tell you what to do with your medications. You know what I mean? Like that would be a misuse of my platform. I'm not a doctor, but I'm not your doctor, so I can't tell anybody what they should or should not do with their medications. So I'm just sharing my understanding of it as someone who has been prescribed ADHD medications, who's talked to doctors about them, and it's my understanding that if you don't need it that day, then you don't have to take it that day. Some doctors will tell you to take it every day just so that you get into the routine of taking it every day, so that you don't forget to take it. But there's not really much risk for harm by not taking it. There's not you're not going to have any major like withdrawal symptoms or anything. Should be fine. But anyway, talk to your doctor about it. Just ask them. I did a big flashing disclaimer. Also, I learned that histamines play a role in inflammation and serotonin, which can worsen depression. I stopped taking my antihistamines recently, and I'm not sure if it might be making my depression worse. It's hard to say. You know, depression is not as clear-cut as just serotonin. Like, if you want me to be honest, we kind of overhype the role of serotonin in depression. It's like, sure, serotonin is related to having a more positive mood, but it's not just serotonin that we're dealing with. There are other neurotransmitters involved. You know, your routine, your activity level, your diet, like these also all play into how your mood manifests as well. Honestly, there's a big misconception regarding depression. I feel like a lot of people are made to feel like if you're depressed, it's because your brain isn't making enough serotonin. That's the feel-good juice in your brain. If you're depressed, it's because your brain is broken and it doesn't make enough of the feel-good chemical. When that's a vast oversimplification of what's actually going on, serotonin does play a role in your mood, but it's not the be-all, end-all of feeling better. It's just one of the ways that we treat it. I have a headache and feel itchy all the time regardless, so I'm going back on them. I know you're not a psychiatrist, but if you or anyone in chat might have experience or knowledge on this subject, I'd like to hear it. I would just run it by your doctor again, but to my understanding, you know, not taking your ADHD meds, like, especially if it's like your day off, you know, you don't need it to work, you don't need it to be able to like focus and dial in. It's like, there's not really much of a risk there, you know, it's... Now, there are certain types of medications that you definitely don't want to just stop taking abruptly, so always talk to your doctor about changing or stopping a medication. I feel like I've done my due diligence here. I feel like I've... One of the things that really bothers me about the current state of mental health care in, I guess you could say the world, but it's like I'm mostly just applying a Western perspective here. In America, let's just dial it back. The mental health in America. One of my biggest gripes is when a person is depressed, we make them feel as if it is their problem. Your brain is broken. Your brain doesn't produce enough serotonin. Your brain doesn't know how to be happy. So take some medication, and then you'll feel better. My brain is broken because I'm gay. No. Your brain isn't broken. Your brain is what it is. If you don't like the way that your brain's working for you right now, there's good news. You can change that. Never forget about just how powerful neuroplasticity is. Neuroplasticity, your brain's ability to mend itself, to rewire itself. If you have brain damage in a certain region of your brain can learn how to work around it. Other parts of your brain can step up and take over the work that other part of the brain was doing. Or it can, if the wire, got crossed, then it can reroute itself. It's tremendously helpful. So just don't forget that. You know, if you ever feel like I'm stuck this way, just remember you are not. The only thing that is keeping you stuck is the fact that you believe that you are stuck. For me, not taking my ADHD meds on the weekend is not helpful. I can't regulate my emotions as well without it. You know, and that's yeah. You know, it depends on the person, exactly. But now I would also ask you, do you want to rely on ADHD medication to regulate your emotions indefinitely? Or is emotional regulation something that you'd like to work on so that, let's just say, you find yourself in a situation where you aren't able to refill your prescription and then you have to go a couple days without so that you're not so overwhelmed? Likewise, I'd say that treating trauma symptoms to root out depression is more effective than just pretending that depression is just chemical imbalance. Yeah, no, absolutely. It's like when you're dealing with something like that, whether it be depression or anxiety or, you know, any number of issues, it's like more often than not there is an underlying trauma that is the cause. And if you want to fix the problem, you have to figure out where it's stemming from. You got to get in there. You know, you got to you it's like it's like a bullet. It's lodged in you. Your body will heal around it, but you might walk around with quite a bit of pain because there's this thing that it's stuck in there. If you really want to heal, you got to get in there and you got to take it out so that you can heal properly. Trauma is, in many ways, the same way. It gets stuck in there, and you got to get in there and you got to figure out how we can remove it, or how we can address it, how we can process it. I'm on meds, but I wish I didn't have to rely on them. An important conversation to have with your doctor. It's my perspective that you should always be able to talk to your doctor about what we can do to not need the medication anymore. And this is primarily for like mental health medications. And not even all mental health medications, like maybe something like antidepressants or anti-anxiety medications. It's like, maybe I don't want to take this for the rest of my life. But I feel like your doctor should be willing to work with you so that you can get there and make that happen. My sister was diagnosed bipolar, but she was coming off a lot of drugs and she was younger too. That could have been the primary cause for it. Drugs really mess up your brain, especially if you're doing hard stuff or if you're just doing whatever is available. I've seen people have all sorts of mood disorders, psychotic disorders as a result of their persistent drug use. I don't want to, but I might need to. TBH, politically things are stressful as F. I need my meds. Don't let him send you to a camp. Don't let him send you to a re-education camp. Don't go. Don't do it. I don't think that they will, because that's honestly ridiculous, but they've shown that they will do all sorts of ridiculous things, so... How do I not let them send me to a farming labor camp? You leave, or you refuse to go. There are going to be plenty of good people who would be willing to help in that type of situation. I want to let you know, if I got sent to some sort of labor camp, I would be such a fucking nuisance. Like, oh, that big combine tractor got taken out of commission because a nut made its way into the into the gears. Uh-oh. Oh, there's sugar in the gas tank. I would be a nuisance. I mean, they just beat you to death in that situation. If they martyr me, martyr me. Yeah, please, just martyr me. Remember, I told you all back in November. That protest season was going to be lit. Remember, don't forget. Pork Tree, hey, how's it going? You know what's funny? I was thinking about you earlier. I was like, I haven't seen Pork Tree in a while. I wonder how they're doing. And now you're here. Weird. Starting to get warm out. Yeah. Protest season is starting. I need to feed the squirrel in about an hour. We've been giving the squirrel about 2 to 3 cc's of food every, 3 hours. Also, I found it helpful to pay attention to the squirrel. You know, like, when the squirrel is done eating, he's pretty good at letting you know he's done eating. He'll just pass out. He'll stop looking for food. And he'll just go to sleep. Just being cautious to not overfeed, you know? Thanks again to Gunnar Vin. I don't know if Gunnar Vin's here right now, but Gunnar Vin sent me a guide. Gunnar Vin sent me all of these pictures from a care guide for gray squirrels. Baby eastern gray squirrels are by far the easiest mammals to get started with in wildlife rehabilitation. Most baby squirrels will take to syringe feeding readily. How's the medicine dropper working out? It's working. I went to the pharmacy and I was looking for like an eyedropper. I just wanted something smaller to be able to feed him because the syringe I've got is pretty big. We also ordered some specialty syringes with like rubber, like silicone nipples on them so that they can do a better latch. But anyway, I went to the pharmacy. They didn't have eyedroppers, and the lady working at the pharmacy was just like, you know what? Just go ask the pharmacist. They can probably just give you some. And I was like, really? I was like, okay. And then I went over and I talked to the pharmacist. And I was just, you know, I went up and I asked him, I was like, hey, do you have any like droppers? Or like, I told him I'm trying to feed a baby squirrel. And he gave me some of these little 1 milliliter syringes. So those work a lot better. And I could just, you know, he only needs like 2 to 3 mils per feeding. So I just fill it up a couple times. He likes it warm, so I fill the syringe and then I run the syringe under some hot tap water to warm it up, and he just gobbles it down. I think I've missed the squirrel lore. Let me show you the picture. So look at that. Look at banana for scale, by the way. Look how long he is. Look at the size of those grippers. We found a baby squirrel 2 days ago. He fell out of a tree. He had quite a fall too. This was probably 25, 30 feet up. He fell, and we looked online what to do when a baby squirrel falls out of a tree, and it's like, try to keep it warm, you know, put a little like hot sock, you know. I had like this microwavable heater pad, so I heated it up just a little bit, not too hot, just to keep it warm. And we left it out there for a couple hours to see if mom would come down and get it. But mom didn't show up, and then it was starting to get late, it was starting to get dark, and it was supposed to get down to like 40 degrees, and I'm like, if we leave him on the ground, he's not gonna make it. You know, it's just gonna get too cold. He's not gonna make it. So we brought him inside, got him a little heater pad, ran to the store to get some puppy milk. We've been keeping him nice and cozy, nice and warm. He took a big poop this morning. Is a long-term plan to keep it then? No, you know, like, we're gonna release it back outside. Like, we'll see if we can maybe have a little squirrel house for it or something, but we don't want to keep it as a pet. That's just not really fair to the squirrel. You know, squirrels, they're meant to climb trees and hang out with other squirrels and do squirrel stuff, so a lot of like animal rehab places you know, they might not take a squirrel, or they'll just tell you how to rehabilitate it. Like that guide said that baby squirrels are one of the easiest things to rehabilitate. So. No trees inside your house? We actually do have 2 trees inside the house. Actually, 3 trees inside the house, but they're not proper big trees. They're small trees that are in pots. I have a fiddle leaf fig. And we have 2 money trees. I found baby squirrels before, much smaller than this, but the mom came back after 2 hours. If you left them for a while, that's not good news. Well, the cat picked him up, and so he smelled like cat a little bit. They said that sometimes the mom won't take him if they've had any interaction with a cat. I also forgot that we also had to save him from the cat. The cat didn't do anything to him, though. He was just like... He gently picked him up. Always heard that they don't care because they love their babies. They don't care if a human has handled them, but they're much more avoidant of cats. So one of the things that I heard is that if the squirrel has had any contact with a cat, the mom might not come get it. So far, he seems to be doing pretty well. You know, like, obviously I'd like for his mom to come back and get him, but I just worry. You know, he's so little. I'm gonna take him out to get some sunlight here. After stream, what I'll do is I'm gonna take him outside. I'm gonna feed him out on the back deck and get a little bit of sun. They say to give a baby squirrel about 20 minutes of sun a day because they need it for their vitamin D. Yeah, Beaver thought he was a toy or something. He picked him up, but he didn't know what to do with him. So thankfully nothing happened. We just dropped him, and then we just threw him in a little box. That's where this picture came from. This is like right after we found him. We just grabbed the nearest box and just like put him in there to like keep him away from the cats. But then whenever we left him outside, we didn't leave him in a box. We just like put a t-shirt on the ground, and then I put the heat pad next to him and just left him there. But then, yeah, Mom didn't come back, so... It's very cute. We weighed him this morning. He weighs 60 grams, which means that he's right on target. Again, shout out to Gunnar Vin for sending me all of this info. They sent me like all of these pages that they have from this handbook for how to take care and how to rehabilitate baby squirrels. So this is awesome. But if you look here, 3 to 4 weeks, 50 to 85 grams. He's at 60 grams, so he's, you know, he's where he should be. So is he basically inactive? He likes to sleep. Whenever he's hungry, he will start seeking out food, so he'll start crawling and stuff. Are we weighing him? Yeah, we weighed him this morning. He was 60 grams. Now that means he's almost gonna double in size here in the next week or two. That's gonna be crazy. That's why we have to feed him so often. They have a really high metabolism. They will eat every 3 hours. Yeah, we're weighing him because you want to feed him approximately 5% of his body weight. And so if he weighs 60 grams, 5% of that is 3 grams. And you do the appropriate amount in milliliters or cc's, which are the same thing. So 3 cc's or 3 milliliters of food. And we've been doing that about every 3 hours. In the beginning, we were doing it more frequently, but less food. We would do like 1 or 2 milliliters every 2 hours. But now we're doing it about every 3 hours, and he's eating a bit more as he's kind of gotten adjusted. Did you get him to pee yet? He might have peed. I don't know. Like, he might have peed in his bedding. We switched out his bedding today, too. We got him a new, we cleaned him off today. We took a little warm washcloth and just kind of wiped him off a little bit. Didn't want to get him completely wet because we want to keep him warm. So we wiped him off, cleaned him, changed his bedding, and there were some spots on his bedding where it's like, okay, I think he might have peed there. Because there's just like, you could tell there'd been like a liquid. But no, like every time I feed him, I try to get him to pee and I try to get him to poop, but he hasn't really peed much, but I'm not super worried about it because he is pooping. So it's like, stuff is working. Yeah, I'm thinking that the amount of pee that he makes is probably relatively small, so it might be harder to see. You have to help them pee and poo until they're about 5 weeks old. In nature, their parents help them do that. They lick them on the butt. How do you get them to pee? You take a moist Q-tip. I take a Q-tip. I actually have one on my desk just from when I was doing it earlier. You take a Q-tip, I like to dip it in warm water, and you just kind of just gently, I rub from the belly down. He took a big poop today. Like, his poops have been getting bigger. I'm like, okay, all right. The very first poop we took was very little. But now he took a big dump this morning. I'm like, there you go, buddy. So here in a couple weeks, we're probably gonna get like, I'm probably gonna get like a hamster cage or like a rabbit cage or something. I'm gonna go to the pet store because eventually we won't be able to just like keep him in a box because he's gonna want to climb out of it. He's gonna want to chew. So, been doing a lot of research. Found the food to get him. I've been looking at, they have squirrel food on Amazon. I was looking at squirrel food. They make these like rodent blocks. This kind of stuff. That guide I was reading, it said to get these once he's, a few weeks older. You want it to be nutritionally complete. You can't just give him nuts, because then he's going to be calcium deficient and he's going to get some sort of degenerative bone disease. So he needs that complete nutrition. So I was looking at this, and then I was also thinking about getting him something like this, where it's got like nuts and mealworms, and look at that, doesn't that look tasty? Got corn in it, dried crickets, mealworms, grub worms. We actually have a giant box of dried grub worms because we were putting them in the bird feeder, so we've actually got some here. We could give him a little snack once he's older. I'd suggest checking Craigslist for fish tanks if it's just temporary. Not a bad idea. Not a bad idea. Yeah, I was looking at cheap wire cages. You know, I just wanted to get him something. Like, it doesn't have to be anything too elaborate or too fancy, because I'm basically just gonna have him in there whenever he's sleeping or just hanging out, so... But I did find it interesting that they have squirrel food for people who have pet squirrels. Apparently this is more common than you might realize. I'm going to feed him here in about half an hour, so I'll probably wrap up a little early today. Like I've said, I've just been so caught up with taking care of this baby squirrel. It's kind of just got me... Like, that's where all of my thoughts have been. I haven't had any time or any mental energy to, like, plan stuff for stream. I've just been, you know, staying on top of the feeding, you know, making sure he's clean, making sure he's going to the bathroom, making sure he's getting all his needs met. I've heard they're a little better than wire cages because they can bite or climb the wires and get injured. That's a good suggestion. Like maybe I could just put I could just probably put some sticks in there for him to climb on. If I got him like a fish tank, and then just give him some stuff inside to kind of climb around on and chew on, and that might be a better idea. How much does a fish tank run for? Like a cheap, or like a reptile tank, like a terrarium. I don't need a big one. They're fancy. God, these are expensive now. Ugh. You know what? They're probably just overpriced because this is Amazon, and to have to ship this would be a huge pain in the ass, so that's probably why you're paying so high. The shipping on a glass terrarium is probably ridiculous. You can probably find one cheaper at the store. There might be free-ish ones on Facebook Marketplace. Not a bad place to look. I just haven't been on there in forever, so that's a good idea. Again, we've got a couple weeks. We've got a couple weeks to figure it out. You know, we might find one used. We might even build something. Who knows? Maybe we'll get some chicken wire and kind of construct a cage. Who knows? Who knows? Gotta get them before the tariffs hit. I know. That's what... Oh, my God. These fucking tariffs. They make absolutely no sense. So, to my understanding, we're just making things more expensive for the sake of making things more expensive? Who comes out ahead here? This is lose-lose for everybody. It's just stupid. Like, hey, let's make everything more expensive and benefit no one. Not a bad idea, though. I will check Facebook Marketplace and I'll see if I can find a cheap or maybe even free tank. Not a bad idea. Not a bad idea. I'll keep that in mind. I ordered him these. Let me show you. I ordered a set of these. I wanted to get something with that, you know. They say that the edge that like they kind of grab onto it. They got little grabby hands, and if they can grab it, then they're more likely to like latch onto it. So this will be great once he gets, you know, they've got small ones all the way up to a big one. Look at him. Look at him. Yep, that looks like our squirrel when he's eating. Just very milky. Yeah, ordered a set of these. So these, apparently they should get here tomorrow. We got really fast shipping on that. It's a slow flow. Nice. Yeah, this will be so much better. So these will get here tomorrow, but right now I'm just using these little 1 milliliter syringes. I'm just using like this. This works pretty well. Since he only has to eat like 2-3 mils at a time, you know, it's just... Yeah, he needs to be fed here in about half an hour, so... Are they reusable? I wash them after every use. So... I think, I'm gonna give them a deeper clean. Like, I rinse them out, you know, I try to keep them clean. But I think what I'm gonna do is I'll take a Q-tip and, like, take some rubbing alcohol or something and just, like, scrub out the inside. I only got them yesterday, so we haven't been using them that long, so I'm like, they can't be that dirty yet. Also, what I've been reminding myself is, like, squirrels don't have hand sanitizers, squirrels don't wear watches, so if, like, your schedule's a little off, or if things are fluctuating a little bit, it's not the end of the world. You want to keep things as, you know, neat and clean and orderly and timely as possible, but the rescue I fostered from reused theirs. They'd clean them and reuse them. How would you recommend cleaning them? Because I've just been using just soap and water. Oh yeah, we do have some pipe cleaners too. I could probably that, but a Q-tip would also fit perfectly in there. Because I have pipe cleaners, but they have little spiky bristles on them. Because they're for cleaning weed pipes. I'm gay, and we wouldn't have you any other way. You were born this way, baby. But yeah, I went to the pharmacy and they just gave me some of those syringes for free. It was badass. They're like, yeah, we just give these out. I was like, awesome. Hell yeah. Hydrogen peroxide. Not a bad idea. We've got some hydrogen peroxide. I could just give them a quick dunk. Yeah, just straight up soap and water should be fine. I've just been giving them a thorough rinse, you know, making sure there's no milk left in there, but I'll give them a good deep cleaning before we do our next feeding. Did you name the squirrel yet? Not yet. It's still up for debate. kind of want to wait until his eyes open and he becomes a little bit more active, you know? I like to wait to name an animal until they kind of show their personality a little bit. I'm not okay, but I'm just working to be honest with it, not be a victim, but not try to cover it and say I'm fine. Good. Now, just covering it and saying it's fine doesn't really do anything to fix it, does it? But it sounds like you're taking a more proactive stance in your healing. And it's important to remember that we are responsible for our healing. We might not have been responsible for our wounds. We might have been wounded by others, you know, our parents, you know, the people who brought us up, or, you know, whoever. But we are responsible for our healing. Yeah, your Twitch app doesn't have the prefix updated for some reason. That's weird. Also, yeah, you want to be mindful of just identifying as a victim, because just look at, just for an example, look at certain people online who refuse accountability and who just identify as a victim, and they just continue to double down, and then they just get worse and worse and worse. Yeah, I need to get on Facebook Marketplace and find a box for this squirrel. Twitch mobile is not reliable. That's true. It's very buggy. Alright, I've got a few questions in the box. Let's go ahead and get to those. There's definitely days I can't combat the depression. My thoughts will be right, and my body isn't hurting, and I have a plan, but something just won't let me off the couch. Is that a sign of something? Could be. Could be. Could just be that today's just not your day. Do you feel like it's a sign of something? I can't seem to find a pattern that causes it. Sometimes I wonder if it happens because I have no obstacles or things triggering me that day. For example, I actually like rain on a day I need to go grocery shopping. I don't forget about the sad things on my good, not depressed days, but I definitely seem to focus on the sad things on days I can't get my mojo going. Not sure what my question is, but I'm just looking for a pattern to recognize. As you get further along in your healing, the pattern will become more and more apparent to you, and you're always going to be finding out new things and uncovering new things and learning new stuff about yourself, so that's okay. If you can't see the entire pattern yet, that's okay. Just recognize the part of the pattern that you're dealing with right now. You know, it's kind of like there's an entire symphony at play here. There's all sorts of instruments and all sorts of rhythms and all sorts of music, and it all kind of coalesces. And it's you're trying to just pick out one specific instrument. You're trying to find that rhythm. You're trying to figure that out. And then as you continue along, you'll start to get a more broader and broader understanding of what's really going on. If you have a bad day, if you have a day that is fucked beyond repair, because there are some days that are fucked and cannot be unfucked, just take the day. Just take the day off. Just take that day to be however you need to be. But tomorrow is a new day. So there will sometimes be days where it's just like, I'm not getting anything done today. And that's okay. We don't want it to be every day, but those days do happen. So if you are having a day where you feel that way, what I would encourage you to do is, instead of focusing on how I can make today better, you know, if I feel like today is just not going to be my day and I'm just going to be chilling, you know, what can I get done tomorrow? What am I going to do tomorrow? Just take time to plan for that next step. You know, allow yourself to feel however it is you're feeling, and just maybe do some exploring as far as why I am feeling that way. Maybe you'll figure something out, maybe you won't. The pattern might not be as easy to understand or as clear as we would like it to be. You know, when it comes to understanding our patterns are complicated. Sometimes we have patterns that operate over the span of months or over the span of years. Some people have these patterns that they will cycle through over a course of a decade. And we don't need to worry about all that right now. What we need to focus on is, where am I at right now? How am I feeling? And what do I want to do with this feeling that I'm experiencing? I think I have the opposite of winter sad. You got the summertime sadness. You've got a case of the Lana Del Rey's. Making cookies today. Be sure to post pictures. I want to see those cookies. Sometimes the only common denominator is just thinking sad thoughts. That's a good point. Or maybe you've been focusing too much on the news or current events. You know, you've been paying too much attention to politics and it's got you feeling existential. It's got you feeling a sense of dread. Maybe it's just a slow accumulation. You know, maybe it's not any one thing. Maybe it was 1,000 little things. But either way, the feeling is what it is, so let's take a look at it and let's try to figure out what I want to do with this feeling. I went to my first local doctor today after moving a couple months ago. And the doctor was super nice and gave me recommendations for places to visit. But my brain keeps bringing up perceived embarrassing moments or stuff that says, hey, you didn't do that right. But the thing is, the appointment went really well, and I don't know why it feels like my brain is trying to tell me it didn't go well. What is this called and how to fix it? Rumination. Rumination is when you look back at past events and you get caught up in what you feel like went wrong or what you could have done differently, and it's not necessarily helpful, nor is it all that productive. You know, if we want to learn from past experiences, then learn from past experiences, but we don't need to judge and criticize ourselves for not doing things perfectly. When you replay the event in your mind, try not to look at it the same, like from the same perspective, like that first person perspective. Try to view it as if you're watching it from a bird's eye view, or maybe you're watching it from a camera up in the corner. Just try to take a step back from yourself and look at it from a broader perspective. And what you'll see is things went pretty well. I don't need to be so hard on myself. Another thing that can be helpful is the best friend technique. Let's say that you were talking to your best friend and your best friend was like, hey, I'm feeling this type of way, or I'm dealing with this problem. What would you want them to do? So just if your best friend came to you and they said exactly what you said to me, what would you want them to do? This is another way to get a new perspective on yourself. You know, to view yourself not as you, but as someone that you care about, somebody that you want to see do well, somebody that you cherish and love. That's a common feeling for me at the doctor. I always have more to say and worry I didn't say the right things with my limited time with a health professional. If that's the case, you can always call up there later and just leave them a message and be like, oh, hey, this is so-and-so. I actually had an appointment earlier and there was something that I wanted to bring up, but I forgot. So I just wanted to let you know, whatever it is. It might be important. It might not be important. I have the right thing for the questioner. What is this?
Hey, if you guys feel like you did something embarrassing, you did it. I was there and you didn't. So it's totally fine. You didn't.
Okay.
I hope that makes you feel better, because I was there and you didn't do anything embarrassing. You were totally chill. I saw you. You were being totally chiller. So just forget about it. It's totally fine, and life goes on. So, stop beating yourself up. You know what I mean? Because I was there, and you didn't do anything bad. So, or embarrassing. So, okay. See ya.
How do I picture myself as a person I care about? Who do you care about? Can you name one? It's possible with practice. You know, if you're having a hard time doing it initially, it gets easier. It's a process. Also, something really important to remember is that if you are taking time today to look back on stuff that you feel is embarrassing, you're making it even bigger. You're taking more time. You're spending more time. And then in the future, you're going to look back and be like, you're going to have even more regret, because you're like, why have I let this bother me for so long? If all else fails, just learn to laugh at yourself. If you did something embarrassing, be like, damn, that was embarrassing. Anyway, life goes on. If you can learn to laugh at yourself, you'll never run out of things to laugh at. I've been getting CBT regarding my eating habits and it's been amazing. Nice, nice. How does CBT different from DBT? They are one letter different. I'm just kidding. CBT is cognitive behavioral therapy. It's just a broader, like, there are all sorts of techniques and methods that you can utilize within CBT. There is no like one way that you do it. Whereas DBT is based off of CBT, but it's much more regimented. There are steps to it. There's an entire workbook that you go through and you do it step by step and you have a certain set of goals that you're going to work on. CBT, on the other hand, can be more flexible. You know, it might be more helpful for, like, you know, just regular, average, run-of-the-mill type stuff. Ultimately, they're all about changing your thinking and changing your behaviors. CBT kind of focuses more on changing your thinking first, whereas DBT kind of focuses on changing your behaviors first. It doesn't really matter which you do first, because if you change either one of them, you're going to change both of them. If you're going to look back, I have one more thing to say. If you're going to look back and tell yourself, you know, this thing didn't go right, or you're going to focus on what went wrong, you also owe it to yourself to take some time to ask yourself what went right. So, what went right? You said the appointment went really well. What did you do to help make that happen? You got to remember that the human brain has a negativity bias. Negative events and experiences, they have a 2 times multiplier. It's a critical weakness. So we tend to focus on the negative. It's a method that our brain uses to try to protect ourselves from danger. But what it ends up doing is it makes us go back and look at stuff that we said in 7th grade, and it makes us feel bad about ourselves. So it's a little flawed. It's not perfect, but it is what it is. Sleeping in his box over there. It's almost time to get up and go check on him. Hello, Papa. I've been talking to some guys, and some have been great, others not so much. I was wondering how I could stop myself from getting so attached to some of them. I've been talking to some of them for a month, gone on a few dates, and I feel like soon something bad will happen. I feel like when I think like I may be sabotaging the relationships as well, how can I combat this? Are you familiar with attachment styles? Are you familiar with attachment styles? Because if you want to combat this, what you want to do is you want to understand your attachment style, because that'll explain why you might attach to people too quickly, but also why you might feel like I need to break away before things get too serious. I was hooking up with a guy and we were just talking about stuff. One thing he said was, "You were just a kid, forgive yourself." Oh no, absolutely. Just think about a young person. You're like, would you want them to feel bad about that forever? Would you want them to hate themselves forever for saying or doing something embarrassing? No, of course not. I read about them in Polysecure. One of my former partners recommended it. Attachment styles are one of the psychological, what's a good word for this? Psychological theories, I guess, that has become more publicly talked about. I want to make my family hate themselves. You don't have to, they already do. The only thing you have to do is protect your peace. What about my boobies? Do I protect those too? Those two. Protect them with your life. So, let's talk about attachment styles for a minute. There are 4 attachment styles: anxious, avoidant, disorganized, and secure. The goal here is not to just identify your attachment style, because I saw a little bit of an episode of Love is Blind, and on the show they were talking about their attachment styles, and they were talking about them as if just, this is my attachment style. It is what it is. The goal is to strengthen your attachment style, not to just find out what your attachment style is and then go, okay, and then just act like it's the same thing as your eye color. That show is something else? Yeah, it really is. It's, we'll have to do a deep dive sometime, because that show's kind of, like, the reality TV is messed up. They do stuff on reality TV that you would not be allowed to do as an actual psychological experiment, because it runs such a high risk of harm. But hey, if you sign a waiver, it's definitely unethical. Anyway, it sounds like you might have a little bit of an anxious attachment style, which means you tend to have a negative view of yourself but a positive view of others, and so you might attach to people quickly, but then you might also fear abandonment, and sometimes what we do when we fear abandonment is we abandon first, because then I'm able to maintain control over things. If I abandon them first, then they can't abandon me. This could also lead to a person becoming more clinging and demanding. You know, you could very easily find yourself in a codependent relationship. You also have avoidant attachment styles. These are people who don't want to depend on other people. They don't want other people to depend on them. They don't want to seek support and approval in social bonds. Where are my hyper-independents at? Where are my hyper-independents at? Ultimately, the goal, though, is to strengthen your attachment styles. Once you find out what your attachment style is, you want to work on improving it. It's not something that's set in stone. This is something that you can change. This is something you can work on. Disorganized. Disorganized has traits of both anxious and avoidant, which, in thinking back, the questioner, you know, it might fall more into this camp. You know, I might attach quickly, but then I might be uncomfortable by that, and so I become avoidant. You know, it's like, I want to be attached, but I know that attachment comes with complications. You know, attachments might equal pain and suffering, and so even though I want them And I want them badly, and so I do attach to people. Whenever I start to feel too attached, I might pull away. What you want to do is develop a secure attachment. That's what it's all about, becoming more secure in your attachment. You want to be able to have relationships with people, friends, partners. You know, you want that. That's a good thing. It's fun. You know, you think life is fun on your own, just wait until you have somebody to share it with. Are attachment styles real science, or are they like those online personality tests? They're definitely a thing. I mean, whether or not you want to call it real science, it's like... A lot of what they've done as far as researching this and finding this out is they've monitored it in children. Here, I'll show you. Let me see if I can find that infograph. The concept of attachment styles comes from studying children and child psychology. How do you greet your parents when they come to pick you up from kindergarten or preschool? Are you happy to see them? You know, you greet them positively. That is a secure attachment. Are you wary? You know, you might be more anxious or ambivalent. Do you hide from your parents when they show up? That might be more avoidant. And then you've got the disordered attachment, which is the that last one. It's that anxious avoidant. You're confused or you're apprehensive. And this often stems from inconsistent parenting. You know, maybe the parent might be very loving in one moment, and then next thing you know, they're mad at you, and you're not sure why they're mad at you. And so it's confusing. And so this is how your attachment styles develop. What is your relationship like with your caregivers? That is what sets the tempo for how you attach to people later in life. So that's how they studied it, and that's how they initially came up with the concept. Why am I alive? I don't know why. You're alive to figure out the answer to that question. Why are any of us alive? You were born to be alive. They need to have classes on this in high school. Emotional regulation is such an important skill, and it's something that's so overlooked in education. I feel like if we could teach people how to better regulate their emotions, we would be so much better off as a society. So anyway, they found out what attachment styles are originally by studying children and their relationship with their parents. But what we know is that the relationship that you have with your parents, it kind of sets the tempo for how you form relationships later in life. Like, who else are you supposed to develop a relationship with first, other than, you know, the people that raise you? Thank you for the insight. No problem. No problem. Wish I could do this now. I'm still teaching myself in my 30s. This is one of the things that's like, you always want to be working on yourself. You've always got room for growth. It's okay to be where you're at right now as long as you're committed to continuing to grow. Because who knows what could be possible in the next 6 months or in the next year? Who knows? You might feel totally different about yourself. But the only way you're going to figure out is if you try. Tell that to my cunt dad. Just for a moment, Dean, just pretend that instead of your dad saying those things to you, imagine that it was just some random person on the street. You're just walking down the sidewalk, minding your own business, and some random guy across the street just starts yelling those things at you. The same kind of shit that your dad would say to you. Would you take that random stranger seriously? Probably not. You'd probably be like, what the fuck is wrong with this person? They sound like a big asshole. I probably shouldn't listen to them. Have you ever experienced dissociation? I've been experiencing it in the last few years and was wondering what is the best way to deal with it. I've been going to therapy and such, but it's so random and frustrating. Have you tried meditation? The reason why I suggest meditation is because meditation, not only, it kind of ties in with dissociation, but it kind of allows you to get a better hold on it. You learn how to utilize it, and you can have more of a sense of control and direction in when I'm dialed in and when I'm able to just let my mind wander. I kind of feel bad for parents that have fucked up the opportunity to have a good relationship with their child, because imagine having that opportunity. You have a child, you could have a good relationship with them. You could have, a stronger bond than you might have with anybody in the world, and you fuck it up. That's gotta suck. I feel bad for shitty parents. You had a great opportunity and you fucked it up. So I feel bad for them. They might say awful, terrible things, and it might make you feel terribly about yourself, but that doesn't mean those things are true. You're taking information about yourself from an unreliable source. They don't know anything about themselves. How are they supposed to be some sort of expert on who you are? And going back to the dissociation thing, yoga as well. I found that yoga really helped me to feel more grounded in my body, and that, helps me feel less, disconnected, dissociative. Can I just ask a question? Let's say that you have a grease fire on your stovetop. Are you familiar with a grease fire? What do you not want to do with a grease fire? You don't want to put water on a grease fire because that's just going to make it grow. It's going to make it get even bigger. It's going to get out of control. And so what you're dealing with is you have a grease fire on your stove, and your dad is telling you, just put water on it. What are you going to do? You're going to listen to him even though you know he's wrong, even though you know he's just going to make things worse? Or you're just going to listen to him and believe him because he's your dad? No. You're going to do what you need to do to put that fire out. How does water not stop a fire? It does. Okay, hold on. Let me show you a video. Water on a grease fire. The reason why you don't put water on a grease fire is because oil and water are insoluble. They will not mix. And so when you put water onto a grease fire, it just makes the grease go everywhere because the two don't mix. And so now you've got hot, burning grease all over the place, getting thrown around. Let me show you a video. This is why you do not put water on a grease fire. So we've got a grease fire here on the stove. You got a bottle's worth of water. Watch what happens. Hold on. No, it's because the water will suddenly violently boil and then cause a pop and throw fire everywhere. I thought that was what I said, but maybe I was misinterpreted, but that is what I was trying to say. It throws the grease around. All right, watch this. All right, douse it. Oomph. Don't put water on a grease fire. Put the lid on the pot. Put the lid on the pot. See? Don't do that. He literally had the lid on the pot. All you gotta do is just leave the lid on the pot. Take the pot off the heat and put a lid on it. And you're fine. That's all you gotta do. Right? If he had just left the lid on it, he would have been fine. But he carried it over to the sink and tried to douse it in water, and then it exploded. So yeah, taking undue, untrue criticisms about yourself from your parents when we know our parents to be unreliable sources, maybe we shouldn't listen to them. Maybe they're just trying to put water on a grease fire and we need to let them know, like, actually, no, I'm just gonna put a lid on it. You can also dump salt on it. You can also get a fire extinguisher. That will also work. In a Western kitchen, you can throw the whole thing in your oven. That too. Throw the whole thing in your oven if you want to. Are ovens fireproof? Well, they're made of metal. They're pretty good. They're pretty good at it. Anyway, the whole reason why we brought up this example was because whenever we allow our parents to tell us who we are, and they're not a good source of information, why should we listen to them? It's just going to blow up in our face. We need to find out who we are on our own. We determine our own worth and our own value. Our parents do not. They might suggest how valuable you are. They might suggest what you should think about yourself, but that's all it is. It's just a suggestion. You don't have to believe it. You don't have to listen to it. What about putting oil in your pasta water? How does that work? Well, the oil will stick to the noodle, but it won't won't mix with the water. So you put a little bit of oil in your pasta water and it helps the pasta from sticking together. It's actually not super necessary, but it can help. Also, boiling water is only 212 degrees Fahrenheit or 100 C. I do know that one. How do I stop gooning? You have to go to a farm labor camp, actually. That's what RFK Jr. is going to do. He's going to send all the gooners to do labor out in a field. You're going to be planting soybeans. You're going to go to the goon log. Ah! You're going to go to Guantanamo Bay. How to stop gooning? I'm so addicted. I do it every time when I don't want to study or finish my chores. Every time when I feel stress, I end up doing it again. I tried working out, but the urge is still there. I end up gooning over and over again. Right now, what you're doing is you're messing up your brain's dopamine pathways. It's just like any other addiction. Whenever you become overly reliant on a behavior or a drug or some other thing to get dopamine, it ends up becoming your primary source for dopamine, and that's how an addiction forms. So what we need to do is practice delayed gratification. It's okay to do a little bit of gooning. You heard it from me. It's okay, in moderation, but we can't allow it to interfere with what we need to do. If we're gonna goon, we ought to goon guilt-free, right? But if we're gooning as a way of avoiding the things that we need to do, studying, chores, that kind of stuff, then it's becoming a problem for us, and it's not really as, good as we might think it is. It's kind of an avoidant behavior. The thing about your brain is you want to get reliable release of dopamine throughout your day instead of just spiking it randomly spiking it with certain behaviors. We need to look at the act of studying or the act of doing chores as beneficial, as rewarding. I'm working hard. I'm doing things I need to do. I am setting myself up for a better future. I am creating a better living space for myself. I'm improving my quality of life. Reframing those types of activities, studying, chores, exercise, that kind of stuff, viewing that as the reward. What's the proper amount of goonage? Well, you don't want it to mess up your perception of intimacy and sexuality. This is something that happens with people who get addicted to masturbating or they get addicted to porn. It basically it's the same kind of shit where it's like a meth addict will not be able to experience positive emotions unless they have access to the drug. And so it's going to really interfere with the rest of your life and your quality of life because that becomes your primary source of dopamine. So what we need to do is a little bit of mental reframing here. We need to find rewards in other things. And then we also need to delay our gratification. You know, don't eat your ice cream before your dinner. Maybe it would help to remind yourself that if you continue down this pathway, you're just going to turn into Gino. That's a good point. You're going to turn into Gino from 90 Day. Gino is a gooner. He is a gooner. Also, he can't make love to his wife because he's addicted to pornography, and he's addicted to gooning. So don't be like Gino. So, just like anything else, moderation is key. There is such a thing as too much of a good thing. We want to get dopamine. We want to get that reward chemical. That's dopamine. It makes you feel good for doing something. We want to get that consistently throughout our day from doing different stuff, you know, from doing chores around the house, from taking time to study. You can feel good about yourself because of that. There is a reward in that effort. And so we need to kind of reconceptualize how we view those things. Those aren't things that I have to do. Those are things that I get to do. I don't watch 90 Day, you'd get a real kick out of it. If there's anything to watch from 90 Day, you gotta watch the episodes with Big Ed. Big Ed is unreal. I have never met a more just disagreeable, like, Big Ed is basically, what would you be like if you made the wrong choice every single time? "90 Day is good people watching because it's like, where do they find these people? Anyway, it's 4 o'clock. I gotta go feed that baby. I'm gonna go take him outside. So I'm gonna wrap it up a little early here today. I got a baby squirrel to go take care of. Can you feed squirrel on stream sometime? You know, I did yesterday actually, so there should be some clips. I did it yesterday. Casey was live streaming and I just rebroadcast her stream through. It's pretty cute. It's pretty cute when he really gets into it. Yeah, you would slay on 90 Day. 90 Day Fiancé is a show about people who have international romance and they're looking for a certain type of visa. So that they can, you know, get married and go on to get a green card, that kind of stuff. Very interesting people watching. A lot of interesting people going for these international relationships. There was this one guy, I think his name was Dave. He was in this online relationship with a woman from Ukraine and, you know, spent thousands of dollars, actually went all the way to Ukraine a couple times, but she didn't meet with him. She just kept making excuses. And you're at the point where they're like, there's just no way. There's just no way. She can't be real. She has to be fake. This guy has to be duped. Turns out she actually was real. They actually did end up meeting. The US would change my passport. Yeah, what a weird, fucked up priority for people to have. Like, you know, don't worry about housing the homeless. Don't worry about feeding school children. Don't worry about measles outbreaks. Let's worry about a single letter on a document. You know, does it say M or F? You know, we need to make sure. It's like, it's fucked up. You know, you could probably find a compilation here. Best of. If you've never watched 90 Day before, this is probably a good place to start. Watch a compilation, Big Ed's Most Awkward Moments. This is probably a good place to start. Like, when you watch Big Ed, you're just like, how is this guy even real? It's like, anytime he has to face a decision, he makes the worst possible choice. Like, I don't even know how it works. He was on the show for a lot of time because he had a couple people that he ended up getting into a relationship with, and so he's on spin-offs and he's on, you know. Anyway. I would only visit the US for plastic surgery at this point. I don't know, I've heard pretty good things about Turkish plastic surgeons. You might be able to save some money as well. You see, I was just about to take the squirrel out and feed him.
Need my help or you got it?
I got it. I'm gonna take him out back. I'm gonna get him some sun and I'm gonna give him some food. Alright, everybody. That's gonna be it for me today. I'm gonna wrap up a little early because I gotta go take care of the squirrel. But I'll be back tomorrow. I'm gonna send you over to Casey. And I'll see you all later. I'll try to take some pictures while we're outside, so I'll try to post some more in the Discord. Anyway, have a good night, everybody. Thank you for understanding the disruption to the normal schedule. I'm raising a baby. I'm a parent of a newborn now. I've got a lot of responsibilities. I have to wake up every 3 hours at night to check it and feed it. Anyway, have a great night, everybody, and I'll see you next time. Don't forget, be kind to yourself. Alright, everybody. Stay safe out there, try to have some fun, and we'll see y'all next time. Adios, amigos. Guten Nacht, mein Freund. Auf Wiedersehen. Speaking of squirrel, you ever want to hear something funny? Ask a German to pronounce the word squirrel. They say squirrel. It doesn't really mesh. They have a hard time saying squirrel. They say squirrel.
Squirrel. A squirrel. 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 No.
Squirrel. Bye-bye.